Welcome to Take Care with Caitlin Kelly, the podcast where we advocate for creatives and non-creatives in helping them elevate to the highest versions of themselves through embracing self-care, personal growth, and finding balance in today's fast-paced world. I'm your host, Caitlin Kelly. Today's guest is a licensed master social worker raised in Albany, Georgia. She is a proud alumnus of Spelman College and University of Georgia. By day, she serves individuals across the country who manage chronic health conditions. And by night, she's empowering others through her professional development services via her limited liability company, ProDev by Katima. Recently, she launched the Beyond Bars Scholarship to positively impact the lives of youth with incarcerated parents or guardians. As the eldest child of 3 raised in a poverty and crime-stricken community, she finds passion in helping others, advocating, and being innovative. Fatima has survived various trials and tribulations that have made her who she is today, and she is dedicated to inspiring others to live the lives they choose, despite statistics, stereotypes, or even learned behaviors of their native communities. Everyone, please help me welcome to the show, Fatima Sanders. Welcome.
Hey, thank you for your beautiful introduction. It makes me excited.
Yes, of course. I first of all, thank you for your service. It's so good to see you. And before I get started, before we really just dive deep into everything, I want to ask you 2 questions. First question, how are you? How you doing today?
Um, I woke up feeling good today. I feel very content with where I am in life. I've been learning to kind of wake up and bask in all the good things or the simple things rather, not necessarily the materials, but learning to be excited just with, having somewhere to live, having a car, having income, having my sound mind, being able to connect with God, being able to think about just the freedoms, the small freedoms that we don't necessarily bask in every day.
Yes, I love that. Second question, how are you really doing? Is there anything that maybe like want to share? Maybe like something, a challenge or something that maybe you overcame this week or anything?
This week challenges. I mean, I feel like there's always a challenge every week. Um, this week specifically though, what was my biggest challenge? Hmm. I would just say time. I feel like time has been a big challenge in general for me, especially transitioning as a newer parent and trying to navigate, work, business, personal life, family life, intimate relationship life, and also setting boundaries. Boundaries is a big challenge for me. Continuously a challenge for me as someone that's like very helpful, very friendly, also very known to kind of be accessible. So yeah,
Mhm.
those are my main challenges right now: time and boundaries.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. I just wanna respond to what you said about, like, in the beginning about, um, just being so grateful and just also, like, just having just always staying in a state of gratitude, like, literally, I feel like I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or what, I just have new values, like, I definitely am like, "Oh my gosh," like, I recently just got my own place, so I'm like, "Oh my gosh," like, "Thank you, God. I got a roof over my head, and I live in LA, and homelessness is like it's huge." I'm like, "But I got a roof over my head, like, I got a car to drive. I have income," like you said, just the little things, so it is so important to be grateful for that at all times, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Um, um, so Fatima, you are not just a social worker. You are a licensed master social worker.
Yes.
For those of the listeners that maybe not necessarily knows like what that means, because I know like there's so many terms people might get social worker confused with a therapist or a counselor. Can you break down for people what it is um, that social workers do, or maybe like something that people may not even really know about social workers?
Mm-hmm. Yes, we definitely have a lot of stereotypes. I feel is, how they do us in the media,
Mhm.
or even just people's personal experiences with social workers. A lot of times, it's painted as if we only work in like state systems like defects or that term is different across the country too, but the Department of Family and Children Services, A lot of people think that's like our main thing. We only deal with like food stamps or foster care, or we only take people's kids, that whole thing. But there are different levels to social work. So of course there's community social work, which is what most people are familiar with, but there's also clinical social work. So those of us that work in clinical settings usually have a clinical license to do so, and that's by legal requirement to do it. So like the government literally requires us to have a license to work with people in a clinical capacity. So for me, with my license, I'm able to complete mental health assessments. I'm also able to coordinate on clinical care teams with like physicians, nurses, dietitians, and things of that nature. So in a clinical capacity as a social worker, you are working to pretty much close gaps for people on a psychosocial basis. So we're not only worried about your social aspects, meaning where you live, what you eat, or if you have enough food to eat, your money, your family setup, but we're also worried about your mind. So we
Yeah.
ask questions about, do you battle with depression, anxiety, PTSD? Do you have a mental health disorder? If you do, how can we intervene and intersect between the two to make sure that your mental health does not affect your social needs, or your social needs does not affect your mental health? So that's pretty much the difference in a very short synopsis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, some of the work I've done in a clinical capacity includes working in a dialysis setting. So as a dialysis social worker, I'm there every day, Monday through Friday. You are assigned your clinics. Depending on the agency, you will have more than one clinic, and you are expected to meet with clients every week. And what I'm doing is making sure that they have no barriers to come to dialysis. And as we know, dialysis is required 3 days out the week, depending on the severity of your kidneys. And I'm making sure that, if you don't have enough money for your rent this week, you still have a way to come to dialysis. So if rent is a barrier, let's find these resources to get your rent paid. If transportation is a barrier, let's find a way for you to get transportation to dialysis every week. And now I'm working through a health insurance company. So pretty much the same thing. The only difference is that it's remote. So I'm talking to people across the country in states that are not restricted with licensure. I do have three licenses in 3 different states. However, there are some states out there that do not require you to have a license in their state. So I just call these clients that have this insurance, and I pretty much do the same thing. So if they say, hey, I love this insurance company, but my light bill needs to be paid, I'm making sure we can find a way for your light bill to be paid. If you say you don't have enough food for the week, I'm making sure you have enough food for the week. And the reason social workers are involved in this capacity is because we are the ones that normally know the community resources. We know how to coordinate for you, be that liaison, making sure that you kind of understand different processes or applications or where to go. So we are directing you to where you need to go and making sure that you are able to get it. So it's pretty much just case care management is what they're calling it now. It's a growing field, especially since COVID. So you will see a lot more social workers and nurses in the remote capacity due to the change post-COVID.
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was I feel like that was a great breakdown, like, because there's so many, like you said, like there's so many different like stereotypes, and there's so many different so many different types of routes. There's so many different perspectives about social workers and what they do. Did you always know that you wanted to be in this field? I know that, like, because mental health is like it's a big thing for me, like something it's always been something I've been passionate about ever since I was young. But has this been something that you had always thought about even when you were young, or did it just, did you kind of like venture off and discover it at a later time, or how was that?
I would say in high school, I was definitely stuck on being a lawyer. Like I did the whole law track and everything, passed classes and everything. But then I just realized I think that we weren't exposed a lot as to our options with law. And I kind of closed my mind off to the law field. And then by the time as I was finishing high school, I actually had my own mentor who actually is a social worker. And the type of social work she does is related to school social work. And so with her, I enjoyed the aspect of like hitting the ground running, being in the community, seeing students every day, So initially, I was very stuck on doing community social work, meaning school social worker or state social work with foster care systems and things like that. But once I actually got into it, I kind of learned that it wasn't, there are a lot of barriers when it comes to community social work, and there's not a lot of power in the social work role. Meaning you're not only working against state and federal systems, you're also working against family systems. And a lot of times youth aren't able to get what they need because of the guardian or the parent that's over them. So if you say, you might have a student that's homeless, but if I told your parent, hey, you can go here so that y'all aren't homeless tonight, it's up to that parent to make sure that that child isn't homeless. And there's not much we can do besides report it and continue the process of case management and trying to get that parent or guardian to understand the need that the child actually has. So as I was also working with people, I started to see, they're not homeless for fun. They're homeless because, okay, she has bipolar schizophrenia.
Yeah.
Or she has depression,
Yeah.
or she's been through sexual assault, so she has PTSD, or she has anxiety issues. So she didn't go to the resource because she just didn't want to. She didn't go to it because she had anxiety about being told no, or not feeling secure in that decision, meaning this is a temporary fix, but you want a permanent fix. So why would I go to a temporary fix?
Yeah.
So due to this work, I kind of just started feeling, okay, let me try a clinical route. Let me see the difference in, what this looks like. And a lot of times issues are on the surface a lot bigger than what we see. Like, yes, we do have a lot of people out here that just don't care, but we also have a lot of people that are literally battling mental health to care. They're battling mental health to get things done. And it's not so much that they don't want their children, but if you're not properly medicated, you're not getting the proper treatment. Maybe you're battling substance abuse. And well, I prefer the term substance use. I really don't like the word abuse, but anywho, maybe you're battling substance use concerns or issues, and it's stopping you from meeting these goals to get your children back, to get a job, to maintain financial stability and things of that nature. So that's why I wanted to transition to a clinical route. And I also felt like it kind of worked better for my quality of life too. Because like I said, I did feel I feel like I didn't have a lot of power in the community social work setting, just mainly due to the systems, because as a person, you might want to do X, Y, and Z, but by the system, you have to do something totally different.
Yeah. You know, mental health is something that I feel like, you know, mental health is something now that like people are it's becoming popular, I guess, for lack of better words. Like it's becoming popular, it's becoming kind of cool to like, you know, take care of your mental health or, whatever. What are your thoughts on like the Black community and mental health? And like what is something that you want to see as far as like, our community? What is something that you want to see us like advancing with mental health and everything?
I think I would also be doing a disservice if I didn't mention the fact that I also have a family member that deals with bipolar schizophrenia.
Mhm.
So I think that's another driving force for me when it comes to mental health, because, as a child, I was never told that this family member had this diagnosis. I learned on my own. I learned by, as I got older, I started noticing behaviors. I'm like, that's not normal. That's not regular. Like, why does this family member, why is this the only person that does this in my family? What's going on? Like, I never got a true answer about it until I got older and I started learning myself, about the DSM-5 and about mental health diagnosis. And so I started to self-diagnose and identify different things and try to figure out like, okay, so this is what's going on. It's not that she's just crazy and she just doesn't understand that she's hurting my feelings, or that she's doing things that don't make me comfortable. Is she can't control it. She doesn't know that she's doing these things. So for me, I think a big misconception as well, especially in our community, is that people don't understand the barrier that comes with trying to help people that have mental health diagnosis that they can't necessarily control. So like, for example, even if someone knows that they have bipolars or any type of mental health disorder, oftentimes people are quick to kind of dismiss them, oh, they don't want to deal with it. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to this and that. And I'm guilty of that as well. I still have my days where I want to disassociate from the situation. But then I have to remind myself that this is not in their control. This is
Right.
a thing that is totally beyond what they really want to do or who they really are. And I also have to remind myself of who this person was or who this person is when they are fully medicated, when they are fully being treated, when they are in a more stable place, and we can have real conversations and understandings of one another. So I think a big misconception is one, just lack of knowledge, lack of understanding about what it actually means, um, lack of care a lot of times, and not being able to step outside of yourself and still see this person as a person, beyond their diagnosis or whatever you want to call it. And also just a lack of understanding about the system. Because, a lot of times when people are aware that you have a family member or someone that you're close to that has a mental health disorder, they assume that the family doesn't care. They don't want to be involved. They're just letting them do whatever. But by the system, we can't do anything, especially once they are full-blown adults. So, for example, if you have someone that's going through a manic episode, and they're just out in the world, let's say they're getting arrested for obstruction of a police officer, they're doing assault on people, things of that nature. They'll call your phone, they'll tell you to come pick them up. But, I can go pick them up. But if they say, oh, I don't want to go do X, Y, and Z, I can't make them do X, Y, and Z. Or if I say, officer, can you go ahead and put this person in, I can't think of the 10-9 codes right now, but could you go ahead and put them in a mental health hospital for the night so that they're in a safe place? Oh, no, we can't do that. They're not a threat to me. They're not a threat to anyone. So what do? If by law you can't force them, if no one is their power of attorney, if they're refusing for a family member to be their power of attorney, then you're kind of stuck in this place where it's like, okay, all I can do is what they allow me to do. And by law, if you're not going to force them to do it, then what are we supposed to do? So I think there's a lot of just like misconceptions, because we see it all the time where you might see somebody homeless and they'll say, well, why their family won't pick them up? Why the family won't do X, Y, Z? By law, you can't make them do it, especially if they have a personality disorder. So, they'll be good with you one day, but then the next day they're cussing you out. Yeah. Or they might say, yeah, you could be my power of attorney, but then when it's time to sign the paper, nah, I don't want to do that. So it's just a lot of misconceptions and ideas that simply aren't true most of the time, especially when it comes to like those personality disorders. Even depression can be a lot on people. Anxiety can be a lot as well when it's very severe, and things of that nature.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, because I also have like people in my family that have like mental health disorders. And one thing that I would hear growing up, and it's not even like it's not even grammatically correct or even politically correct, but a family member used to say like, "Oh, they are mental health. Like we don't mess with them. They are mental health." And I'm like, but that don't make sense. Like that's just like saying somebody is physical health. Like what is like what does that mean? They mental health. So it's just like, like you said, like sometimes we want to disassociate. We don't ask questions, or we don't dive deeper into trying to figure out like what's going on. It's just that okay, this person has a problem and we just don't fool with them, and that's gonna be that. So but I'm so grateful that you are in this field, because you are and I'm proud of you, by the way. I'm proud of you, and I'm inspired, um, you know, because you are not only giving back through your service, as a social worker, but you're doing that in so many ways, through your business and just being a human, just willing to do better and wanting better for not only yourself and for other people. Um, and I know that, we had talked about like today's episode is, breaking generational curses and, all that stuff. It's so important to realize that in order to even do that, to break a generational curse or to break a cycle, that we have to make a choice and a commitment to doing so first. So, when was the moment for you that you decided that you wanted to not only want better for yourself or other people, but to inspire others to do so as well?
Um, I've had so many tough moments, like all the way through childhood. I think one of the key moment would have been trying to see what year that was. I think I was a sophomore. I think I was a sophomore. But pretty much in high school, I experienced a home invasion.
Mhm.
And that was a very big turning point for me because not only are you violated, it's like you're violated in the comfort of your home, somewhere that you feel like you should feel safe. It was no longer safe to me, especially when the reason or who committed the crime are people that may have been around. You start to lose your trust for individuals. You start to lose your trust in just pretty much everything. It's very much a big violation when somebody comes in your home and you don't expect it. And I think for me, after that moment, that's when I realized like my power as an individual. Because I was the one that kind of was able to navigate it the most. Because I'm the oldest of three. There's a big age gap. There's like an 8 and a 10-year age gap. And at the time that all this happened, I was the only one that was able to. I called the police. I was the one that was trying to navigate everything because so much happened in a matter of 24 hours. And it happened on a school night. So imagine going to bed, think you're going to school the next day, and you go through a home invasion.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of things going on. My mom had got injured during the altercation. And so it was like I just had to kind of pick up I was already very mature for my age, but for me, it's like a light bulb kind of switched in my head. And I told myself, I'm like, there are just things I'm not going to do because I don't want this life. I don't want to
Yes.
live this way. I don't want my kids to live this way. I never got any counseling for PTSD. I never got any type of mental health questions asked to me. It was like that happened. I didn't go to school the next day, went to school the day after that. I didn't even tell my friends about it. Only I think one of my friends actually knew because she knows my family that enough to know, like, when it hit the news, like, oh, okay, this is you. Like, why you didn't say nothing. But only one friend, well, actually two, but only one friend that was actually at school with me knew, besides my other friend that went to another school. But the one that I actually went to school with, she was the only one that actually knew because of her knowing, like, the actual names of family members and where we live, that type of thing.
Mhm.
So, I just had to kind of pick the pieces up. And I think from there, that's when mental health also became a big thing for me as well. And I really didn't even realize I had PTSD until I got to grad school. So we're talking about that. How many years was that? That was sophomore year of high school. So you got sophomore, junior, senior. Then I did 4 years of college. So that's 6 years. I didn't
Yeah.
realize that I had any type of PTSD from that until 6 years. And that's when I finally got my first apartment by myself. And I'm like, okay, I was paranoid.
Mhm.
I realized I didn't want nobody to come to my house. I didn't want nobody to know where I stayed. I was very cognitive of like my surroundings. Like as soon as I used to walk to my door with my key, like straight in my hand. Thinking about exes all the time. If something happens, what will I do? And then I was also in the city by myself. So I didn't have any family with me there. I didn't have any friends with me. Though it was I was probably like 3.5 hours from home. And I was probably like 2 hours from my aunt. But locally, I didn't have anybody there. That was my first time being in a space where I was by myself, literally, and I didn't have any friends or anything. And at the time, my boyfriend wasn't there either. So I'm like, I'm paranoid. Like literally the first month or so, I could not go to sleep. I stayed up all night. And you know how it is when you hear sounds, like naturally, most of us hear sounds and we get afraid. But
Mhm.
for me, it's like I hear sounds and I'm afraid because now it's taking me back to that place when we went through the home invasion.
Yeah.
So ever since then, it's just, I kind of did an inventory of my life, and I just kind of look at the things that I value that I was taught as a child, and I look at the things that I felt like was a hindrance for me as an adult. So I it's kind of like a comparison and contrast. You know, you just kind of, you keep the things that you feel like are going to help you thrive, and then you toss the things that you feel like aren't a part of the lifestyle that you want for yourself. So I just made kind of active choices, and you know, I'm very appreciative of how I grew up. I'm very appreciative of what I was taught, what I was exposed to, because when I did get to a space where, you know, a lot of the girls or a lot of the other students, like in college, because, you know, Spelman is very well known to be expensive one. So, you know, if it's expensive, that means you're around celebrity children or people whose parents make six figures a year and things
Mm-hmm.
like that. And they're spoiled or they are privileged. So when I got to Spelman, there were a lot of things that these privileged people just didn't know, like how to put on a button on a shirt. I know how to sew on a button to a shirt, or how to
Mm-hmm.
clean up. I know how to
Yeah.
clean up. So it's like, it's certain things that, you know, as you get older, the things that we might have resented as children, you might have hated the fact that you had chores, or you didn't understand why, you know, your mom didn't pay you for chores, or why, you know, you had free lunch at school. Why can't your mama also just bring you lunch when you want the lunch? You know, just like little super stuff that we were probably so resentful for as kids. But as I got older and I got around the people that, you know, because we're kids, you normally compare yourself to people. So you get around people that got, you know, we at Spelman, they got red bottoms. So I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, they got red bottoms. Like, oh, okay. And
Mm-hmm.
definitely not hate because I'm not a hater. But, you
Yeah.
know, you see the folks with the red bottoms, and you
Yeah.
think that they come from so much privilege and their life must be
Yeah.
so easy, but they have no survival skills. So
Amen.
I'm very grateful for my survival skills. I'm very grateful for just my sense of culture and my ability to kind of adjust to any room, any situation, roll with the punches. Cause you know, I can hang with the red bottom girls. I can hang with the girls that's from down the street that just want to go sit outside on a corner and eat hot dogs. I can do that
Yeah.
too. So I've just kind of learned, I just took inventory of the things that I really value as an individual and the things that I felt like, okay, I can kind of leave this behind. I'm grateful that I know about these, but I can leave this behind because I don't want this to be a part of my chapter, my life, my legacy.
Right. You know, and thank you so much for having the courage to even share that. I'm so sorry that you went through that, and I'm grateful that you know, now as an adult, like it's something that has really it's really been kind of like the makeup of who you are, you know, a go-getter, somebody who, like you said, who's able to adapt and to have those skills. Um, I was gonna ask a question and I done forgot. It wasn't even on my notes and it just, oh my gosh, it just went away. Um, oh my gosh, I hate when this happens. Um, anyways, I guess I'm gonna just ask a question that I had already had in the first place. Um, oh, I know what I was gonna say. Yeah, you know, when we decide that we want to break a generational curse, especially sometimes if we are the first ones to do it, because what I said I was gonna do is the title of this episode. It might change, but I was thinking because you know like with me kind of like entering this field of film and like nobody in my family has done that before, like me moving out to LA, like people think it's crazy. And you know, I'm like, well, why I gotta be the one to do it? What? So the title that I said of this episode is gonna be Breaking Generational Curses, get somebody else to do it. Cause I'm tired. I don't want to do it. That might change though. But you know, in what ways do you feel like, you know, it's kind of been challenging? Like, do you kind of feel that way too? Like, get somebody else to do it, or are you like, you know, you know what? I kind of accept this role, or like, are you just, you know, how do you feel about it? Does that make sense? Know what I'm saying?
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I definitely relate to that. I get that all the time though. Especially, well, I feel it a lot. It's an off and on feeling for me.
Yeah.
But I also get a lot of like judgment from people that feel like I do too much for family or friends
Mm,
or whatever. They're like, oh, you don't have to do that. You could just stop. You could just stop. Who else gonna do it?
mhm.
If it was so easy for me to stop and not do it, I would not do it. So I think there's a misconception of like, and I mean, granted, yeah, I probably could just stop doing whatever, however, but why would I do that? Like, as a person, I'm loyal. You know, I'm gonna be loyal to my family. And like I
Mhm.
said, I have a big age gap with my siblings, and they do have other siblings. However, they grew up in the house with me.
Mhm.
So I am who they know. I have more of a uh heartfelt commitment to them because I'm the oldest. So I was their protector. I still am their protector. I still am their teacher. I am their financial advisor, all the things. I am that. And I can't turn my back on them. And I think another fact of my situation is that my mom was also pretty much a single parent. So when you have a single parent and you're the oldest, you turn into a second parent, even if you don't want to be. So it's not so much about what you do and don't want to do. I would love to take a break and feel like, okay, I don't want to do this. Whoop-de-whoop, you know, however you want to go about it. But you know, now at this current stage of my life, they're a lot older. They're both grown now. My brother's 18, my sister is 20.
I
So
cannot
they are,
believe that.
I know. But they're transitioning into their own adults. So I'm able to kind of pick and choose where I feel like I need to support so that they can learn. And of course, I don't want to do it. I hate I used to resent the fact. I was so excited, like, okay, I'm gonna be the first to graduate. I'm gonna be the first to get my degree. I'm gonna have this, I'm gonna have that. I'm gonna be the first to have 6 figures. I'm gonna be so excited about it. But then when you get it, you start feeling like you start resenting it because the people that you were doing it for aren't even happy for you. You know, they think they know what your journey was like. And that just comes with coming from, again, a poverty, crime-stricken community. You know, a lot of times there's a misconception, there's an idea. They hate the fact that you went. They happy that you went, but they hate the fact that it is you that went. You know, they love the benefits of the fact that you went, but they hate how it looks because they didn't do it, or they feel disempowered for whatever reason. You know, so I definitely have those moments where I hate it. I hate being like the one, but who else gonna do it? You know, if I could choose another route with things, I mean, I don't even know if I would per se, because I feel like it would take away from who I am today. You know, I mean, yeah, I used to want an older sister. I don't have an older sister. I used to want that, but it is what it is now. Everybody grown. I feel like now I'm in a place where I can start enjoying the fruit of my labor, whether that's through work, family, friends, whatever. I'm at a place now where I'm able to identify my non-negotiables. That's a new thing for me right now because I've never had them. Like, I used to think I was so like, I don't want to do that. I ain't doing it. Girl, I am not like that. I was lying to myself. But now I've started to identify what my non-negotiables are. And I feel like it's helped me a lot with telling people no or deciding what I do and don't want to do.
Amen to all of that, especially, you know, with the non-negotiables. I feel the same way. Like, there are just certain things. I literally had this moment the other day, Tima. I was like, why did I accept that? What? I literally laughed. I said, what? I said, why would I do? I was like, Caitlin, now? Nah. It's a no-go. It's a non-negotiable. But it's also a part of growing. You know, if we accepted whatever, you know, then, but you know, now we're at a place where that just shows growth and that shows progress. And to your point about what you were saying about how sometimes, you know, people they like that they like that you're succeeding, but they don't like that it's you. You know, the thing about that I feel like I have an issue with sometimes is that, you know, victimhood is a real thing. Like, victimhood is real, and people just like they'll say like they'll just be stuck. Like, they'll decide to make a choice or they'll decide to stay. It's nothing wrong. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with anybody staying in a hometown or anything. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is, like, you know, if you're not doing anything about it, if you're complaining about a circumstance or you're complaining about an outcome, you know, and it's like, well, you just stuck in your victimhood, love. I'm sorry. Like, you know, like, I'm I can't do anything about that. Do you have any thoughts on that, you know, about victimhood?
Oh yes, oh
Yeah.
yes.
I love it.
Yes, victimhood, girl. I cannot stand it. I really can't because I also went through that at Spelman as well. Like, you have girls in there crying like because they failed a class or something. I don't know, something stupid. Like, oh, I shouldn't, or feeling entitled to a grade.
Yeah.
Baby, I'm not even supposed to be here because they unregistered me because I didn't have the money for my balance. What's going on? You not a victim. You still registered in here. You can still go get all the benefits of being a student. But as for me, I'm coming in here just out the strength of hoping they will approve me for the next semester. hoping I can
Yeah.
even get a grade. Because
Yeah.
technically I'm not even a student right now. I'm just in here trying to kill time and keeping the faith. So yeah, people definitely have a lot of victimhood. Like even if you can come from a way worse situation than them, and they will literally just act like, oh, the world is over. And it's not to say I can determine what's good or bad for you.
Yeah.
However, a fact is a fact.
Yeah.
If your balance is paid and you can go to class and your biggest struggle is that you're just not passing the courses, baby, go to tutoring.
Mm-hmm.
No, go to
Mm-hmm.
tutoring. Your struggle ain't mine because they could kick me out right now because I'm technically not a student. So,
Amen.
I just had to I'm glad that I'm at a place where I've always pretty much have been accountable, like, because nothing's perfect in my life. I've definitely made mistakes. I've definitely, probably ruined relationships, said the wrong thing, did the wrong thing, however you want to call it. I've done it. We've all done it.
Yeah.
But I know how to be accountable as well for how I get to a certain place. So if
Mm-hmm.
I got here because, okay, I didn't, like, let's say I failed a test. I failed that test because I didn't study. It's not because, oh, so-and-so didn't do something for me. It's because of what I decided I didn't want to do or what I didn't do to get to that next level. So, I've learned to kind of tune those people out and also call them out in the
Mm-hmm.
best way possible. I
Yep.
might not say everything, but oh, if I hear, I don't want to leave home. Well, why y'all want to leave home? Your mama grown. Because I mean,
Yeah.
before that was so what's going on now?
Yeah.
So, having those real conversations and helping people understand that, we are not victims. And I also felt like me not living in victimhood has definitely caused a lot of relationships to fall off. Because people don't like when you are a victor. They don't like it.
Come
Especially
on.
when they're stuck in that victimhood. They looking
Mm-hmm.
at you like, well, she going through X, Y, and Z. Why she ain't down? Baby, I am down, but I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going.
Yes.
I
Yes.
cannot be a victim. I want to be a victor of what's going on, what I'm experiencing, and trying to figure it out. I'm very solution oriented. No matter how big or small the solution needs to be, I'm very focused on what the solution is. I'm gonna cry about it. I'm gonna shout. I'm gonna go goals. I'm gonna do whatever. But once I'm done with that, okay, let's find a solution. Let's do what's next. Let's move on to the next thing because we're not supposed to live in chaos anyway, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes. No. That was no. That's a word. That's a
Yeah.
word for me. That's a word for somebody listening. Like that was all of that was great. Like it's true. There were no lies told. Like, you know, also, victimhood is so real that like sometimes people just be lazy. Or sometimes people just like I'm convinced you just don't want to get out. Like it's just way too many resources. We in a different time. And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, even if you don't have like for example, like I didn't have Tima, I didn't have no money to come out here. I didn't have no money to move out here to LA. Like I literally cuz we couldn't work in film school. So I was like I came out here and I visited and I was like, well, you know, I know that this is where I'm supposed to be, but I'm like I can't I, I got $2. I'm like I got $2 how to get out here. And then I literally just started I started a fundraiser and I was like I'm gonna just have the faith to believe that like this gonna happen for me. I was like, I'm gonna just say like $10,000. I don't know. If people like me that much, and it did. I ended up raising 9,000 to move out here. And I was like, like I don't come from I wasn't born with no silver spoon in my mouth. Like
Mm-hmm.
nobody even told me to start a fundraiser. No, for myself. Nobody told me to advocate for myself. I literally just knew that I had to get the hell up out of Albany and that I had to go somewhere. Even if it was Atlanta, even if wherever it was, like literally I hit the ground running everywhere I go. So like what you were saying, I share um that similar skill of like, kind of just learning how to survive, like how to make it. Like how to make it. And even with like me living out here because there are a lot of privileged people out here in LA. I never realize it sometimes until like I'm talking to people and I'm um like I asked a coworker one day, I was like, "Oh, I like your rug. Like, where you got your rug from?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know. I can't remember, but I remember it was like super cheap. It was like $500." I was like, "Well, of course you can afford it. You're Marilyn Monroe's grandson, or like whatever. Like no, like." But I said all that to say, like, you know, I think also like being out here, um, I feel like the world is like or like California, Los Angeles, or the world even. I'm not limiting myself. It's my playground. Like wherever
Mhm.
I want to go, whatever I feel like I can do, even if like a family member tells me I can't, or they're doubting my plan. Okay, it's not your plan, it's mine. It's my vision. I'm gonna put my feet on the ground and get to it. Like I'm not wasting time. But no, like victimhood is real. There are really too many resources, and it's kind of sad. I'm like, um like, for example, like I decided to get a financial advisor, right? Because I I have not been say this. I feel like I have not had like the best examples of, like financial freedom.
Mhm.
And, I said, well, you know what, let me put myself in a position to learn. And I went to like this financial advisor here, they're free. They're free. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just do this. I just went to Bank of America, like, I'm just like, hey, can I have a financial advisor? And they're like, yeah. And I had a conversation with someone and they were just talking about, like, well, how you got that? Google. How much it costs? Free 99. Like, it's way too many resources. You do not have to be stuck in your victimhood. If you
Mhm.
came from Albany, Georgia, or you came from another town or wherever you came from, and your parents, or not even your parents, but just your community, like that's not really the norm there. You do not have to, that's not, but just because that's how it is, that don't mean that's how it's gotta be. You don't have to
Mhm.
do that. You don't have to be stuck there. So that was just an example I had given. I had went on a tangent for a minute. But no, like I'll even see people like on Facebook. It kills me. Oh my gosh. Who knows somebody that's hiring? Go it. Or who knows somebody, like, please get off this little blue app and please go do the work yourself because nobody is coming to save you.
Nobody. Not nobody. And I think for me, I realized that because people really do get stuck. They really get stuck in just their heads, honestly, and just these ideas. Because like for me, a lot of people just assume that I came from like the richest side of Albany. I got both of my parents in the house. I just came from money, and that's how I got to Spelman. And girl, ain't nobody send me out there. My mama
Mhm,
ain't sit down with me and do no applications. She
mhm,
ain't sit down and give me no list of schools to apply to. All she saw was stuff coming in the mail because I was sitting down on my summer breaks, on my spring breaks around junior year applying. The reason I even started applying was because my high school friends, I had one of my high school friends, I think they came in class saying they started applying. I said, oh, I guess it is a good time to apply. And we had a good guidance counselor that were talking about applying to schools. So I'm
mhm,
like, I guess it is time for me to start applying for schools. But I ain't sit down with nobody and asked them what schools to apply to. Going to Spelman, baby. I didn't even know what Spelman was. Okay.
mhm.
When I got accepted, everybody else was more excited than me because I didn't understand the hype. I'm like, what's going on? Like, why y'all so excited? Like, I remember when I even got accepted, my friend, I don't even know how it came up. I think we were just having regular conversation going between classes. I said, "Oh yeah, girl, I had got accepted yesterday from Spelman." She's like, "What? Why you ain't tell nobody? That's big." I'm like, "What is so big? Like,
Mhm.
what's tea? Like, what's so big about this?" Like, I was like, I didn't know I need to tell y'all. I was like, I don't got 3, 4 other acceptances. I didn't know this was supposed to be any different. And then, you also get shamed about being happy for yourself. So I struggle with that a lot. I struggle with, should I tell people? Should I not? Like, all the fake, oh, they're gonna pray against you. I don't believe in that. But you know, I struggle with what I should loudly be proud about because of all of the negative Nancy's, the negative if you know, just the why this, why you got this,
Yes.
you got that. I sat down and applied to this school. I sat there and went to the scholarship coordinator when I got there and asked for some money, applied to scholarships, kept my GPA up to keep getting scholarships. That's how I finished. When it came to me going to my grad school program, I applied to additional programs to pay for grad school. Baby, this ain't no luck of the draw. I didn't come for money. My dad been in prison my whole life. Okay, ain't no money. My mom used to work at a hospital, but she ain't got no degree, so she getting paid. She not getting paid no six figures, nothing like that, because she ain't, you know, she not getting no nursing money. She ain't getting no doctorate money. Regular civilian, making it as much as she can as a working individual. So, you know, I just always dealt with those misconceptions and ideas that, you know, like somebody taught me. Ain't nobody tell me anything. The best thing my mama did for me was put me in academic environments that allowed me to think.
Yes.
I was allowed to think. I was placed in magnet programs, honors programs, extracurriculars, schools that were committed to developing your children's mind. That was the best thing my mom did to me. She might not have been able to give me everything financially that I wanted, even though I never wanted for nothing. I always had all the things that I needed. But as far as like what people assume, I didn't come from rich, paid, whatever you want to call it. I didn't come from it. I came from a working class family and I had to figure it out. A lot of things that I'm doing, my mama didn't do. She didn't tell me how to work on credit. She didn't tell me how to get through school, to go to grad school. These are things that I figured out on my own because I didn't want to be a victim of my situation. If I would have allowed that home invasion for 10th grade to change my life, I would not be where I am today. I had to make an active choice to go a different route. I was allowed to freely think and be in spaces and have good friends. Good friends as a child make a difference. When you have friends, they families might have had the education or the knowledge to teach them this and the third. So they bringing it to me. They giving me nuggets and pieces. So I'm taking what my mama giving me on top of what my friends are giving me and making it into one thing and creating who I want to be, who I desire to be, and being in those spaces and environments. And you already know how I feel with that whole who hiring thing. Girl,
Come on.
I
I
want the
see it.
people to stop. I want the people to stop. I want them to start acting like it's not free. The information is out here. Now, do you maybe need to brush up on your research skills? You know, because a lot of us, I'm very well aware that as far as the mind frame and the intellectual ability to look things up, that is a learned skill and that is a privilege. Because me and you, we can do that because we continued our education beyond high school. But for people that didn't continue their education beyond high school, you went straight to work. You started to get that your mind stops when it comes to thinking. Yeah. So, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's just life. So I get that. There are people out there that they're not in that place to think about it. However, if the resources are free and I'm telling you, hey, go here to get this, and you choose not to go get it, you don't want to get it.
Amen.
So if I'm making the cake for you, you ain't gonna put it in the oven. If I put all the ingredients together, mix it up, put it in the pan for you, turn the oven on, I preheat the oven for you as well. I do it, put it in the oven and wait for it to come on out. You can't do that. That's that victim stuff.
Yeah.
Because we made the cake for, right? We did the hard part. The hard part was putting it together, putting the ingredients together, mix it, put it in the bowl, turn on. We did the hard part. I just say, hey, friend, put it in the oven. Can you wait them 30 minutes for it to come out the oven? How you open the oven? How you turn the timer on?
Talk about it.
Cut it? How you cut? I mean, it's done now. So how you cut it? You don't want to know. You don't want to help yourself. Because why do I have to hand it to you? You can go on YouTube. You can get on TikTok. You can get on Google. It's too free. I'm giving it to you. What are you going to do to help yourself? Because the thing is like nowadays, people want you to help them. Then they want you to do it. And after you do it, they want you to do some more. They don't want to keep coming back to you. They don't want to teach themselves nothing beyond what you just showed them. And then they get mad when you're not freely accessible. I don't owe you that. Nobody gave it to me. Nobody gave it to me, and they don't give it to me now. They definitely don't give it to me now, because now they think I don't need no help anyway.
Mhm.
So at what point do you decide to take control over your life, especially when it's just too accessible? Everything is too accessible. Even with my business, I give out free information. They still want me to do some more. Well,
Mhm.
I don't feel like reading it. Well, baby, I don't feel like reading it either. I did the work and made it accessible to you so you could just click download, and you don't even want to do that. So what we doing?
Mhm.
At some point, it becomes what you really want for yourself versus what you want because other people have it.
Mhm. Amen. This is a perfect segue because I was actually about to bring this up about your business, Pro Dev by Katima. And recently you just launched your Beyond Bars scholarship that is meant to positively impact the lives of youth with incarcerated parents and guardians. First of all, I love that you are doing that. Everything that you have even said, all the way up to this point is just like, we see like you love to give back, and you you are being a great example for other people just in the community. And you're reaching people beyond Georgia, right? Like I think I saw that you had like some applicants or people who donated from like different states and stuff. How long had this been in the works?
The scholarship, it's been on my mind probably the last 3-4 years.
Hmm.
As far as actually getting it done, this year I decided to just do it.
Yeah.
Not gonna lie. So my child, she's 2. I feel like I spent the last two to
Is
three
she
years.
really too?
Yeah, she's 2.
Oh my gosh. I don't I don't know why I thought, well, I guess like because the way you be talking about her on Facebook, like she got a little mouth on her.
Oh yeah,
You
she
gonna have
thinks
to.
she's like 6 or 7. No, she's 2. She's 2 years old.
I didn't
But
mean
I
to interrupt you. Go ahead though.
with her, you have to consider the first year of like the first year is like pregnancy, and then the next year is them being 1, and now she's 2. So I felt like, I spent those first 2 to 3 years just like kind of focus on that adjustment. But there are things that I just really wanted to do. I've been wanting to do it because personally, I would not have finished school had I not had scholarships. Now, when I was in high school, I didn't think to look for scholarships that are based on having incarcerated parents, but they do exist. However, they're not far and wide.
Hmm.
So, you got to really do some research. You really got to find them. And they can be very difficult to come by. So I'm like, okay, well, let me add to the pool. Let me add to the pool. Let me find some students that, maybe and the good thing about my scholarship is that you don't have to go to college to get it.
Hmm.
If you plan to go to the military, that's fine. If you don't want to do neither one, maybe you just need the money so you can get a certification. You can use the money for that as well. So my goal is to make sure that I am closing a gap for a student in some way, whether that's okay, I need the money to move to college. I need the money to move into my apartment. I need the money for my first month's rent, my first utility bill, my first bank account, whatever. They have the ability to kind of decide what they want to do with the money, because I feel like, and I think that's the social worker in me, I feel like they should be able to determine what their highest need is. I don't want to limit it to, just like only books, only, I don't know, only a class, only your balance. I don't want to have to determine it, because especially when you have an incarcerated parent, you already have so many barriers. So I know, like for me, I had a $500 scholarship in high school, and that's how I got my first laptop for college.
Hmm.
So, I want you to be able to determine what that looks like for you and where it would meet your greatest need. So yeah, I'm very excited about it. I've definitely been able to reach far more people than Georgia, so that makes me excited. And I'm just trying to find other ways to make sure I'm doing my best and trying to get it out there to as many people as I can, because I want to make sure that, this is my first year doing it. So of course you learn from your mistakes, and then you try to improve for the next year. But very excited, a lot of support. I got a lot of donors. I did not expect the donors at all, and that kind of has allowed me to start my fund for next year so that it can continue. So that's going to be my goal. Like every year I want a certain amount of money so that I can start funding for the next year that's going to come after the current year.
I love that. What are some of the things that you're hoping that students can gain from this?
I hope it just inspires them to not give up and not to become victims of their situation. Because when you do have a parent that is incarcerated, you pretty much are doing the bid with them, especially when it's a long sentence and you don't know when they're gonna get out. So while they're locked up, it's like, okay, you're trying to learn who you are, but then you have to learn who they are from a letter, a phone call, a visit that's supervised. You can't really fully be yourself. You can't touch, or if you can touch, it's only momentarily. Just those different things. So I'm learning, well, not learning. I really just want them to learn how to take their situations and do the best that they can, and not allow themselves to be stuck just based on what the mistakes their parents made, or whatever situation they got their parents in the incarceration. And I hope they just also learn to give back. I believe it's now our time to start paying it forward and giving back. I'm very big on a village. I feel like I wouldn't be where I am now without my village. So that's teachers, that's coaches, that's my friends' parents, my parents, my grandparents, whoever. Like, it's time for us to pay it forward. And if you don't, the world's gonna stop. It's just our duty to make sure that we continue these things so that others can also be influenced and keep good things going on in the world.
I love that, and I really love that you're doing this scholarship team, because so many students, sometimes they may feel like, because like you've been in school all your life, and it's like, okay, now it stops. Like, where do I go from here? And then it's
Yeah.
like, okay, if I come from this background, I assume that this is the end. This is
Mhm.
all that there is. I'll share something kind of personal, but like when I was in high school, I didn't I would hear the word scholarship, but I used to think scholarship was a curse word to me. It was
Mm.
almost like a curse word, not necessarily because of like, my environment or anything, but I didn't have like the best like self-confidence in high school. And so I always thought that I was dumb. I was like, I'm not smart. I'm not like scholarship. Like, why would you tell me to apply for a scholarship? Like, it was almost like an insult to me. I felt like,
Mhm.
if that makes sense, because I was like, no, like, I feel like you just joking on me now because like I don't feel like I'm even worthy of a scholarship. So I just never applied to any. I never
Mm.
applied to any, or if I did, I wouldn't even put my best foot forward. I wouldn't just submit anything, but I would just be okay, I guess this is good enough. I'm probably not gonna get it. But it wasn't until like college where I really started to shift my perspective on college on scholarships. And I had wanted to study abroad. And
Mhm.
I was like, I ain't got no money to be studying abroad. And I said, really, I just want to go for the abroad part. I really don't even want to be studying because they ain't got my they didn't even have like anything related to my field. I just
Mhm.
wanted to like go really to be abroad. I'm just being honest. But and so it was like this scholarship. So I said, okay, well, I'll apply for it, but I don't think like I'm gonna get it. I ended up getting it, and it like paid almost like half of the trip off. And then it was like that was like a moment for me. That was the first scholarship I had ever even received, and I was just like, oh my gosh. I remember being in Scotland. We were like on an island, and I just started crying. I just started crying because because months before, the tears that I had were because, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to go to Scotland because I don't have the money. And then when I was in Scotland, I was crying tears of joy. Like, I'm getting emotional just thinking about it because I was like, oh my gosh, like I applied for a scholarship, and it wasn't even just the scholarship. It was that I believed enough that I could get out of this situation, or I could somehow experience a different type of a different type, like a different journey. So yeah, I'm so glad that you're doing this scholarship thing. And I said that just in case, like, sometimes I feel like if I'm feeling something, I'm pretty sure somebody else is feeling something too, or they're going through something similar, because for some people scholarships might be a cursing word to them. It might be intimidating. It might be that they may feel that just because they're in a certain situation, or because they don't have the resources or the background, that it's not possible. But because you have done this, and because you are invested in inspiring others, and making sure that people are not stuck in their victimhoods. I believe that this is going to be something that is going to just be so great, and it will continue to reach beyond Georgia and everything. So thank you so much. I did want to or actually, I'm sorry, before I jump into anything else, did you have anything to add or say?
Um, no, thank you for sharing just like your initial thought about scholarships.
Mhm,
'Cause I never thought about it that way. So I do
mhm,
hope that whoever applies and if they are chosen, I hope they do feel empowered to apply to more. And I also made the GPA a 3.0 because I do know that education has changed so drastically. The kids are not striving for the highest anymore.
mhm,
However, they're also allowed to explain if their GPA is below a 3.0 why, because I don't want to limit it, and a lot of times that's another barrier with kids who have incarcerated parents. They also might not be the best scholars because of the mental health piece that is associated with having a parent that's not present. So, hopefully I have good thoughts about it. I think it's going to be a good year. This was a good start off year so far. I'll be able to announce the winners after May 3rd. Well, by the end of May, we'll have the winners announced. So I'm excited about that and being able to just start next year so that I can improve on how we do it, the years that follow.
that's good. Yeah, I really am so glad that you're doing this, and, I know that, um, people who apply and even the winners, they're gonna be blessed for sure.
Mm,
I did wanna ask you just a few questions before we begin to close out. Just kinda like a reflection. You don't even necessarily have to answer on the podcast, if you don't choose to, but just something that maybe you might just wanna have for yourself. What is something that you would tell five-year-old Katima or, the younger version of yourself?
okay. Um, Honestly, I admire the younger version of myself a lot. I feel like I was so unapologetic and I wasn't so like people pleasing
Mhm,
and maybe I wasn't my own way, but I do remember a version of me that was just like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do that. I think if I could tell what I would tell my younger self right now is learn your non-negotiables and don't change them, no matter who or what, no matter who is uncomfortable with what your non-negotiable is. Because as an adult now, I learned that since I'm finally able to name what my non-negotiables are, you know, I think I had said this earlier, like you start to lose people, but then you have to come to terms with the fact that everybody not meant to be a part of your journey for your entire life. So I think if I would have known my non-negotiables early, a lot of people wouldn't have made it this far anyhow. So I think that would be my main thing. And then also that's pretty much it, honestly. I feel like I'm a because I enjoy people naturally, but I think if I just knew my non-negotiables and my boundaries a little bit better, it would keep me out of harm's way with just relationships that just shouldn't be long.
In what ways in what ways are you taking care of yourself in this field, Fatima? Because this field can, be kinda draining. I'm not in it, and I know it can be draining, and, you have a personal life, you're a mom, so, like, what ways are you taking your care of yourself or trying to take care of yourself?
Well, honestly, my day job does not stress me out as much as my previous job did. So I would say find a job that you like and that goes with your quality of life. You don't have to settle just for the money because this job actually pays me way more and I'm doing way less. So I would say find a job or a career, whatever hobby, whatever you do to sustain your life that aligns with your quality of life because you will feel a lot better anyhow. Even if you do have a bad day at work, you're gonna feel good anyhow because it allows you to do other things in your personal life. Another thing that I do, I just try to whatever I feel like doing that I feel like is gonna make me happy. So whether that's a massage, a walk outside, going to dinner, meeting with a family member, meeting with a friend, going to the beach, whatever. I just try to do the things that I know genuinely makes me happy. I'm very creative. I like to get creative. I like to find different activities to do with my kid and just things of that nature. So I guess the main thing is one, find a job or a career or whatever that aligns with your quality of life. Two, take breaks, find things that give you peace, give you happiness. And a lot of times the things that give us peace and happiness are things that we did as kids. So tap back into those things that are just so mindless, that feel so stupid, that just don't make sense. and really enjoy that. And then also take vacations. Take a day, take 2 days, take 3 days, take a week. I don't
Take them
know.
PTO
Take a
days.
day. I am a queen. I take PTO every month and I regret nothing. Okay. The job ain't going nowhere, the clients ain't going nowhere. It's gonna be there. As long as you take your PTO the correct way. So I say take a break from work, take your Fridays or whatever you need to do, take some time off. Even if you just take PTO to go to sleep for the day. So yeah, those are my main things.
Yeah, I love that. And lastly, you've already dropped so many great gems, throughout the podcast. But is there any other advice, any other general advice that you would want to give listeners?
Um, General advice.
Or maybe like a quote you live by or something. It's okay if you don't.
I do. One of my
Okay.
favorite quotes. This was actually my quote from the senior yearbook. Is
Uh-huh.
success does not come to you, you go to it. So pretty much if there are things that you want for yourself or in your life, you have to go find it. You have to go get it. And success is subjective. So it's based on how you define success. It's not based on what others tell you success is. So one, define what success is for you. So if success to you is being able to stay home around your family and having a good paying job and a good credit, then congratulations. Make that your goal, but be comfortable in that success and be comfortable in where you are. Um, just always be able to identify what your goals are and stick to it and make your own definition of what that looks like.
Thank you so much for sharing, Katima. Well, you guys can connect with Katima. If you guys want to learn more about her scholarship, resumes, cover letters, and more, you can visit her site at prodevbykatima.com. And I will be including any other links in the bio, in the introduction for the podcast. So, Katima, thank you so much for stopping by. I really appreciate it. It was really good to hear from you, and I'm so glad that you got to share your story and encourage listeners. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and be sure to share this with someone you know or love to give them some encouragement today. Until next time, take control, take risk, and take care.